Let's check the latest news updates from APARNA VATS.
Namaskar. Welcome to Friends World TV English Bulletin. I'm APARNA VATS and here are the headlines for today. 20 killed, 26 wounded when gunman attacks Texas shoppers. First of two Hong Kong rallies underway after clashes, arrests made. Arrests at unsanctioned Moscow protest up to 600. India offers Pakistan to take back bodies of intruders killed in Kairan. No response so far. Congress Mukt Maharashtra will be a reality, CM Fadnavis says. Kyrios beats Washington Open top seed Stefanos Tsitsipas in entertaining bizarre spectacle. The first wicket released the debut pressure off me, says Navdeep Saini. David Warner shows empty pockets to boisterous English crowd chanting, "He's got sandpaper." Here's the news in detail. A young gunman opened fire in an El Paso, Texas shopping area packed with as many as 3,000 people during the busy back-to-school season on Saturday, leaving 20 dead and more than 24 injured. Authorities were investigating the possibility the shooting was a hate crime, working to confirm whether a racist, anti-immigrant screed posted online shortly beforehand was written by the man arrested in the attack on the 680,000 resident border city. El Paso Police Chief Greg Allen said the suspect was arrested without police firing any shots outside the Walmart near the Cielo Vista Mall, about 5 miles or 8 kilometers from the main border checkpoint with Ciudad Juárez, Mexico. Adriana Quesada, 39, said she was in the women's clothing section of Walmart with her 2 children when she heard the gunfire. "But I thought they were hits like roof construction," she said of the shots. Her 19-year-old daughter and 16-year-old son threw themselves to the ground, then ran out of the store through an emergency exit. They were not hurt, Quesada said. She said she saw 4 men dressed in black moving together, firing guns indiscriminately. Police later said they believed the suspect, who was armed with a rifle, was the only shooter. Ryan Milkey, a spokesman for University Medical Center of El Paso, said 13 of the injured were brought to the hospital with injuries, including 1 who died. 2 of the injured were children who were being transferred to El Paso Children's Hospital. He said he wouldn't provide additional details on the victims. The shooting is the 21st mass killing in the United States in 2019 and the 5th public mass shooting. Before Saturday, 96 people had died in mass killings in 2019, 26 of them in public mass shootings. Since 2006, 11 mass shootings, not including this Saturday's, have been committed by men who are 21 or younger. The first of 2 planned protests in Hong Kong on Sunday kicked off from a public park just hours after police said they arrested more than 20 people for unlawful assembly and other offences during the previous night's violent demonstrations. Light rain fell on the demonstrators, who had parasols at the ready. Since Occupy Central protests in 2014, umbrellas have been a prime symbol of the city's pro-democracy movements. Hong Kong police said they arrested more than 20 people suspected of crimes including unlawful assembly and assault after confrontations between protesters and authorities continued deep into Saturday night. Police said some violent protesters hurled petrol bombs, bricks, glass bottles and other objects at officers and refused to disperse at the pre-approved location on Saturday. The demonstrators committed arson at various locations, at one point pushing a burning trash bin towards officers, police said in a Sunday statement. In a different neighborhood, according to the police, protesters hurled fireworks and broke windows on residential buildings, threatening residents' safety. Residents in one neighborhood, however, banded together with protesters and surrounded a police station, yelling at riot police to leave. A second rally was also expected later Sunday ahead of a general strike on Monday. a former British colony, Hong Kong was returned to China under the framework of one country, two systems, which promises the city certain democratic freedoms not afforded to the mainland. In recent years, Hong Kong residents have accused the Communist Party-ruled central government in Beijing of increasingly encroaching on their liberties. The arrests of Hong Kong booksellers and activists have fed these fears. During the rally on Saturday, some protesters scaled a flagpole, removed the Chinese flag and flung it into the iconic Victoria Harbour. Former Hong Kong Chief Executive C.Y. Leung offered 1 million Hong Kong dollars to members of the public who can provide information about the person who threw the flag into the water. The act will provoke enormous resentment from the entire nation, said Leung, who was plagued by the same calls to resign that current leader Carrie Lam is now confronting. And here's the latest news on the police response to an unsanctioned Moscow protest. An arrest monitoring group and the Russian Interior Ministry say Moscow police have detained 600 protesters at an unsanctioned protest of some independent and opposition candidates being kept off the ballot for a city council election. The OVD Info Group had reported at least 311 arrests on Saturday evening before doubling the number to 600 in the evening. A previous demonstration over the candidates' exclusion a week ago resulted in nearly 1,400 arrests. Demonstrators were planning to hold a march along the Boulevard Ring, which skirts central Moscow and is a popular place for pedestrians. Police gave repeated warnings that officers would take active measures to stop them. Now more news from home. The Indian Army has asked Pakistan to take back the bodies of 4 intruders who were shot dead in Jammu and Kashmir's Kiran sector on the intervening night of July 31 and August 1. The Pakistan side has been offered to come with a white flag and take the bodies for last rites. Islamabad is yet to respond on India's offer. 4. Possibly SSG commandos or maybe some of terrorists were killed along the line of control while they were trying to infiltrate into India and strike a forward post in the Kiran sector, the Indian Army said on Saturday. Top military sources advised that there were 5 BAT attempts on Indian military posts on the LOC in the past few days. It has been assessed that these BAT groups comprise highly trained professionals, SSG, Special Services Group, commandos of the Pakistan Army. According to sources, Pakistan Army started artillery fire on Indian posts, which led to a retaliatory response from the Indian side. India's response, including the use of Bofors 155mm artillery guns, which were used north of Pir Panjal ranges after a long time. The use of Bofors guns on the LOC is rare, and it has been done south of Pir Panjal before. It has been estimated, sources said, that the Pakistan Army was not prepared for such a massive retaliation and may have suffered high casualties. This comes amid confusion in Jammu and Kashmir after the government heightened security and asked Amarnath Yatra pilgrims to leave the state immediately. Following the centre's advisory, 6 countries from the UK to Australia, Canada to Singapore issued travel advisories, with more expected to follow suit. This is the first time since Balakot airstrikes on February 26 that advisories have been issued by foreign governments on travelling to J&K. Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis on Friday said the BJP will fulfill Mahatma Gandhi's dream of discontinuing with the Congress party after independence and usher in a Congress Mukt Maharashtra after the state polls. After independence, Mahatma Gandhi had recommended the dissolution of the Congress. Today, BJP is strong enough to fulfill his long-cherished dream. In the 2019 Assembly elections, we will ensure a Congress Mukt Maharashtra, Fadnavis said from atop his minibus converted Rath at Wardha on the second day of his Maha Janadesh Yatra. On Friday, the CM travelled to politically what had been Congress's stronghold belts. In the 2014 state polls, of the 62 seats in Vidarbha, BJP had won 44, Shiv Sena 4, Congress 10, NCP 1 and Independents 3. Like on Thursday, when he travelled to Amravati, Fadnavis presented to those who gathered on the road to catch a glimpse of him an audit of what his government has done in the last 5 years. He continued to harp on the work undertaken by the government to build 30,000 kilometres of rural road and 20,000 kilometres of state highways. Fadnavis also spoke on how Jal Yukt Shivar was helping farmers to sow at least one decent crop. While concluding day 2 of the Yatra at Saner in Nagpur district, Fadnavis said, "I am Mukhya Sevak, chief servant and not Mukhy Mantri. In the last 5 years, while working for you, we did not think of ourselves or our families. We did not open any private industries, educational institutes or created empires for us. We did not let any stain of corruption on us or on our party in the last 5 years. Every single penny in the treasury was spent for the public." In Maharashtra, only 2 chief ministers have completed their 5-year tenure. Interestingly, both hailed from Vidarbha. One was late Vasantrao Nayak of the Congress. The other is standing before you, Devendra Fadnavis. Your mandate gave me an opportunity to lead Maharashtra. Now, I seek your absolute mandate to take Maharashtra to greater heights, he said. The Nick Kyrios experience was in full effect at the Washington Open on Sunday morning. And he played well, too, hitting 19 aces, saving a match point and edging Tsitsipas 6-4, 3-6, 7-6 in a semi-final filled with all manner of memorable moments across its 2 hours and 7 minutes duration. The 52nd ranked Kyrios will seek his 6th ATP title on Sunday when he faces number 3 seed Dani Medvedev or Peter Gozovich in the final. That match will be hard-pressed to compete with Kyrios versus Tsitsipas, which had some fantastic shot-making by both men, 2 creative players in their early 20s. The most gift-worthy interlude came during a changeover early in the 3rd set, when the shoe issue that has been plaguing Tsitsipas cropped up again, creating a comical scene. Tsitsipas says friction from the way he slides on hard courts leads to problems with his sneakers' laces, which is why he has been changing footwear during matches. Love him or hate him, and there are plenty of people in each camp. Kyrios is a showman, someone who does the sorts of things few, if any, other tennis players do, for better or worse. That was on display right from the get-go on Sunday. When he won the 2nd point with the help of a back-to-the-net between-the-legs shot, later, Kyrios would lose no fewer than 3 other points by trying tweeners when a forehand would have sufficed. He grabbed another by feigning a leaping, throw everything you've got into it huge forehand and instead delivering a delicate as can be drop shot, then smiling widely, pleased with himself. Navdeep Saini said he could not believe himself when he was handed the India cap to play in the first T20 international against the West Indies. Navdeep Saini, who made an impressive debut against West Indies on Saturday, said after the match that he could not believe himself when he was handed the India cap. The 26-year-old was the highlight of India's performance in the first of the 3 T20s as he claimed 3 wickets for just 17 runs. Helping the Virat Kohli-led side to a 4-wicket win, he was adjudged man of the match for his impressive bowling display, which saw India restrict West Indies to 95 for 9. Asked what was on his mind while bowling the hat-trick ball, the Haryana-born Saini said, My confidence was low initially, as I was having pressure of making the debut. The first wicket released the pressure. Then, when I got the 2nd wicket, my confidence increased and I felt like I was playing a normal match. When I was to bowl the hat-trick ball, I felt it is like something which I have been seeing others do. it is happening to me. Then I was focusing on how to take the wicket, Navdeep added. David Warner showed empty pockets to a boisterous English crowd that kept chanting, "He's got sandpaper in his hands." Playing his first test match after serving a 12-month ban over the infamous ball tampering scandal, David Warner looked at ease as he responded to a merciless English crowd who chanted, "He's got sandpaper in his hand," during the first Ashes test in Birmingham. In the first innings, England saw a mini batting collapse, and the crowd took it out on Warner, who was sent to field in front of the boisterous Hollies stand. "He's got sandpaper in his hand," screamed the crowd again and again, till Warner, with eyes focused on the game, pulled out his empty pockets. The crowd laughed and some even clapped at Warner's sportsmanship. The 32-year-old joined in the fun, shared a laugh with the crowd before turning his attention back to the game. On day one, Warner was dismissed early in the first innings. Warner was adjudged leg before wicket off the last ball of the fourth over by Stuart Broad for just 2 runs. And as the Australian opener walked off the ground, an entire section of the English fans at the Birmingham Stadium stood up to wave sandpapers at him. While Warner has endured his third worst return in Tests, in which he has batted twice, former skipper Steve Smith, who was also banned along with Cameron Bancroft, picked up from where he left off. Smith scored almost half of Australia's runs himself in the first Ashes test, rescuing his side, who were in big trouble at 122 for 8 in the first innings with his 23rd test done in just 64 matches, and his unbeaten 45 in the second innings dragged his side 27 for 2 when he came to the crease out of the mire again. Until next week, Namaskar.